Welcome to the Kara's Cure Show, where we explore the leading edge of wellness. I'm Kara Sundlun. Hallmark movies are certainly a staple when the holidays come around, but they're just movies. Dr. Laura Saunders from the Institute of Living is here and has more on why it's so important that we don't compare our own family life to the ones that we see in the movies. Welcome, Doctor.
Hello, Kara. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you know, I think that we all naturally do this, but you say it's harmful to our psychological state when we start comparing?
Right. So I like to put the statement right out there. There are no Hallmark families. They're only in the movies. So what happens is, so much about this global pandemic has changed family life. At least hopefully some families were able to gather for Thanksgiving this year and do some things. However, Hallmark movies, just like social media, portray families as these beautiful fantasies. Everyone gets along. There's nuclear parents. All the siblings get along so well. And what that serves to do is it serves to make us think, well, my family's nothing like that. What's wrong with me? And it really fuels inadequacy.
Yeah.
So we need to get away from the social comparison.
So I think people will feel like, is that true? What do you mean? Like if you have a lot of fighting at home, or you have someone maybe who's going through addiction or mental illness, people do really feel like, oh gosh, my family is not like the one across the street. As someone who does this every day, are you here to say that every family has its problems?
Every family has its problems. Every family has that, crazy uncle, has addiction, has the college student or college dropout, college student that moved home, or adult student, adult that moved home. So every family has its issues. And what Hallmark movies, now that I'm picking on them, and sometimes social media does, is only portrays the highlight reel of someone else's life, and you compare it against the flaws or the inadequacies in your own life. And so what I want each family to do is embrace the things that make you unique, that we could call them flaws, we can call them differences. It's what makes us unique, and it's what makes every family different and special. I'm sure lots of people after Thanksgiving holiday were looking all through all sorts of social media saying, oh my God, this family had a more beautiful table than I, or this family had everyone gathered together. This family has a nicer home than I do, right? That's, I say this, social comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes, that is a good thing to remember. So you say that to celebrate our own uniqueness, creating some easy traditions can actually make us feel a lot better about our own family?
Yes. So let's take these feelings of inadequacy and turn them into motivation. Let's move into, okay, you feel like you need to make a little bit better effort in your family. Let's create some things. Let's create some family traditions. It could be that you choose to have the same meal on every night, right? Taco Tuesdays or Pasta Wednesdays, things that create some sort of regularity or structure. Start an activity jar at the beginning of the new year. And every time you do something fun as a family, put a little note in that activity jar. And at the end of the year, you review it and you realize, wow, we did do a lot of nice things as a family. Plan a monthly date night with each of your children. While sometimes it's nice to have the whole family together, sometimes with competing personalities and competing temperaments and agendas, it makes it hard. So plan that you'll do something one night with child A and another night with child B. Split it up, create lasting memories. Camp out in front of your Christmas tree or for a holiday night. Watch movies, snack on treats, keep the tree lights on. So do things that create memories. So don't just hold on to those feelings of inadequacy. Turn them into something more meaningful for you and for your family.
I love the idea of the date nights with kids. I think we always hear parents need to carve out date nights, but you're saying, especially in those maybe teenage years where the kids might be at each other's throats, that we don't always have to put everyone together every Sunday or for a long period of time.
Right, all the time. And I actually hear a lot from families, obviously I work with families who often have a young person or a teen who has some significant social emotional difficulties. And sometimes that other child feels a little bit kind of neglected. And so make that effort, spend a night and do something special with that child, that other child. But attention is the greatest gift that you can give your children. It's not money, it's not things, it's attention. So, create a trip to the library, look at, make homemade treats and together and deliver them to a neighbor or an elderly neighbor, someone you haven't seen in a while, or someone who has difficulty getting out. Build gingerbread houses together, go ice skating. So there's things that you can do to create memories. So I don't want people to sort of sit and wallow in those negative feelings. Let's take them and turn them into something else.
So as we do this, and we do these little things, what tends to happen is you start to feel better about your own family, and that leads to better self-esteem for everyone in it?
Absolutely. So, and again, I don't want people comparing, but if you feel like you need to make a better effort or a different effort, and I do have certainly an understanding that we're still within the confines of a global pandemic, although I believe it's turned into an endemic at this point, but we have lots of confines. But let's find little ways. It's your joy and your peace is in the little things. Let's find little ways to create change for each of us and for ourselves, and to embrace what makes us different. So let's turn that inadequacy or those feelings of my family is not good enough, or all other families are get along better or more beautiful than my family. Let's take that and turn that into what the gift that you give your children is your time and your attention. So finding little ways to do that. I do understand that we're all a little drained. The holidays can be more difficult. So remember that time and attention are the greatest gifts that you can give your children.
Well, I think the holidays add another layer because there's so many shoulds. And I think in your line of work, it's not should, right? There's no shoulds. It's we could or make it, but there's all these things we're living up to of what an ideal holiday will be.
Right, and that's a great point, Kara. So, right, moving away from the shoulds, it's I'll try, I hope to, right? It's not I should do it this way or I should do it that way. I should have enough money in my bank account. I should be able to give my children lots of gifts. I should have a family that gets along well and does a lot of things together. Those shoulds only serve to make us feel bad about ourselves, to put us into kind of a box, an emotional box that it's hard to get out of and makes people feel trapped. So I'll try. I hope to. I'd like to. Right. So moving away from those shoulds, having those self-statements about, I'm going to put in a little more effort. And also, having parents, having adults nurture themselves. It is more than just a cliche that we do need to take care of ourselves before we can really fully take care of other people. If we drain ourselves emotionally as parents, it's really hard to have energy for our kids. Because let's face it, kids really takes the great majority of our energy as parents. So having adults nurture themselves, spend time with a friend, spend time with your partner, do something that makes you feel good about yourself. Quality time is actually more important than quantity of time.
Well, like you said, with the date night with the kids, it was U.S. suggested once a month, which is a lot easier than once a week or, every night we're going to have a family meal together. So even lifting up the expectations of having to make every day something.
Yeah, I talk a lot with the families that I work with, not about lowering expectations, modifying them, right? Modifying them so that you feel a greater have a better sense of success, right? To do something weekly with your kids would be near impossible. But to plan once each month that you do something with each of your kids, I think that's a little more reasonable. So as we modify our expectations, it creates a feeling of success as a person and as a parent. And if you feel a little bit better about yourself, it improves your emotional energy and then kind of fuels you to do that next thing or to plan a little bit bigger event. So it is helpful for all of us.
Yeah, I love the baby steps. Once the kids get a little older, let's say teens, and you've said before on this show, it's natural for them to want to be with their friends a lot. What do you suggest for, enforcing, that's probably the wrong word, but having that family time when you might have older kids that are like, no, I don't want to do that. I did that when I was little. I need to be out with so-and-so now.
Right. And yes, I do really think in terms of adolescent developmental milestones, kids need to be with their friends. They need to establish friendships. They need to join a club at school. They need to be out of the house. They need to establish those relationships. It's part of the developmental goal of identity development for our teens. However, that doesn't mean that they completely need to abandon their family. So what I often suggest to parents is offer to do something that you know your child wants to do, right? They don't necessarily want to go with you to Home Depot, right? But they, maybe your daughter wants to get her nails done, and the two of you go to get your nails done together. Maybe one of your kids loves Mexican food, and you say, we're gonna have Mexican food tonight. What do you want to order, and bring Mexican food in? So you can modify things so that you do things that will create success for your kids. That doesn't have to be that, this is what we always have to do. This is the way we've always done it. So you want to find ways to create success because it just makes everyone feel good. Modify your expectations so that, the goal is not that we will have this beautiful, loving experience together. It's that we sat together and had a meal and no one was yelling, right? So modifying your expectations keeps it much more realistic and overall much more positive.
That's some good advice. So if you say you put all this anticipation up for family day and everyone's going to look good and go do all this and then they start fighting, you don't want to look at that as a failure.
Well, right, because then you just set yourself up for failure in that experience. So the more you can modify your expectations, do something that you all will enjoy, and keep your goals small.
Yeah. Sometimes it's difficult. We talked about shoulds. There are people who have really difficult relationships, maybe even with a mother or a father, and so they struggle with at the holidays, I have to invite them, I have to have them here. And maybe it is a toxic relationship. What's your advice about that?
So yes, there are some toxic relationships out there. And you have to think about, as a parent, what is my goal in this situation? My goal at a family event is to have everyone there. Okay, well then you might invite that person. Your goal in that situation is to just provide a connection or reconnect with someone. Well, then do it outside of a larger event where there's more of a setup for difficulty or failure, right? This is a good time to extend olive branches to people that you may have become disconnected to, but large family events are not the time to reestablish difficult family relationships. That's much better done in a smaller setting with really kind of limited exposure. And there's times where you just don't include that toxic person.
And that's okay.
And that's okay too. That's okay too.
Yeah. Well, you've given us a lot to think about. Even if we make our movie night watching the Hallmark movie, I guess we're going to watch it with the idea that it's fantasy.
There are no Hallmark families.
Say that one more time.
I can't say it enough, Kara, because so many people believe my family should be this, my family should be that. There are those shoulds, but there are no Hallmark families.
Right. And comparison is the thief of all joy.
We need to embrace our flaws, value each other, and value ourselves.
Thank you for the reality check. It's always good to know. We'll remember not so many shoulds and you could do coulds, as Dr. Laura said so.
Make I statements and have a little bit of hope.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Dr. Laura.
Take care, Kara.
You too. You can watch more Kara's Cures on the Channel 3 streaming app. We keep them right here for you. I also post them on my social media, so follow me at Kara Sundlun or join my Kara's Cures Facebook group. We hope that message served you and wish you all a very happy holiday.